I used to believe family was like a flame, something you kept alive by feeding it with every part of yourself. I poured in my hours, my earnings, even the dreams I tucked away so someone else could shine brighter. But the day I handed my sister everything I had in a single envelope, only for her to trample it like it meant nothing, I finally understood. Not every fire gives warmth. Some only consume you until there's nothing left. Before I tell you what happened, make sure you subscribe for more moving stories like this, and drop your hometown in the comments. I'd love to see where you're watching from. My name is Ethan. I'm 32 years old and I teach history. My lectures are filled with tales of battles and revolutions, yet my real war was fought quietly within my own family. Growing up, I wasn't treated like the son. I was the replacement parent. When my sister Nora was born, I was 12. From that moment, I became the one rocking her to sleep, washing dishes until my fingers cracked, walking her through snow to school, and guiding her through homework. My parents were rarely around, always too busy, always elsewhere. Every responsibility landed on me. Ethan, pick her up. Ethan, help her study. By 16, I wasn't just her brother anymore. I had become her father, her teacher, her guardian. I never blamed Nora. She was just a child, running through the house with pigtails and laughter, too young to realize the weight pressing down on me. But for me, the burden grew until it suffocated me. So when I turned 18, I left. College became my escape. Cheap meals, long nights, and a kind of freedom I had never known. I built my life slowly. My degree, my first job, a tiny apartment with a couch that sagged. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Then the calls began. Nora wanted to go to art school, $15,000 a year. My parents couldn't afford it. Their voices buzzed over the phone. Ethan, just cover half. We'll take care of the rest. Half, as though half wasn't also my rent, my food, my own future. Still I said yes. Always said yes. For 5 years, I poured thousands into her education. I taught extra classes, gave up weekends, lived on scraps just to keep her dream alive. My friends drifted away when I couldn't afford to join them. My apartment remained bare. And through it all, not once did anyone say thank you. Not my parents. Not Nora. To them, I wasn't a brother. I was just an invisible wallet they expected to stay open. When she finally graduated, I thought I'd be free. But then she needed somewhere to live. Of course, I found her a place and even paid the first few months' rent. In the beginning, she sent quick texts of thanks. Then those messages stopped altogether. My parents bragged about her independence, as if I hadn't been the one keeping her afloat all those years. Then came her birthday. She was turning 24, and I wanted to give her something that mattered. One last gesture to prove my love before I finally started living for myself. I drained my savings, $15,000, and covered her rent for an entire year. I tucked the papers into a red envelope with her name carefully written across it. This was it. My final gift. The party was crowded. Music, laughter, dozens of faces I barely knew. Nora moved through the room like a star, adored by everyone. My parents hardly glanced my way. Then during dinner, my mom stood, her voice dripping with pride as she gestured toward the driveway. Parked outside was a white convertible with a giant bow. A movie-worthy gift. The room erupted in cheers. Nora burst into tears, rushing outside as cameras flashed around her. I clapped, but my stomach twisted. When I turned 24, my parents gave me a bookstore gift card. When I bought my first apartment, they handed me moving boxes. But for her, they gave the world. Later, when it was time for gifts, I passed Nora the envelope. My heart raced as she tore it open. She glanced at the papers, and her face hardened. "What is this?" she demanded, her tone sharp. "I paid your rent for a year," I said quietly. "So you can focus on your career without worry." The room fell silent. She sneered. This isn't a gift. This is your job." My chest hollowed out. "What?" She tossed the envelope back at me, the papers scattering across the table. "You're supposed to do this. Mom and Dad gave me a car, something meaningful. And you bring me this trash. Next year, maybe get me something real." I stood frozen as silence spread through the room. Then my mom cleared her throat. "Ethan, maybe you should leave. Don't ruin Nora's night. Ruin her night." I gathered the envelope and walked out. On the drive home, anger and grief blurred the road until I could barely see. That night, in my empty apartment, I broke down. I cried until I could hardly breathe, not just for what she said, but for every sacrifice I had made for people who never saw me. The next morning, I called a friend who owned the building. "Cancel Nora's lease," I said, steady and cold. He didn't ask questions. "Consider it done." A week later, she was out. My phone exploded with calls, texts, even knocks on my door. I blocked them all. A month later, my parents begged me to help with the car payments they couldn't handle. I laughed and hung up. Soon after, the bank repossessed it. Nora moved back in with them. Do I feel guilty? Not at all. For the first time in a decade, I feel alive. I'm saving for a trip to Athens, a dream I've carried since childhood. I bought myself a new desk, one that doesn't wobble. I'm finally living for me. And if you've ever carried someone else's weight until it crushed you, tell me, how did you let go?